I am talking about not only one of the best looking CEOs inside of our space, but also one of the biggest brains who is leading the team that is growing one of the hottest brands inside of health and wellness, specifically ancestral primal health. I'm talking about Dean Brennan, CEO of Heart and Soil. Dean, get inside the show. Get in here. Yeah.
Hello. Man, you guys, that intro is something else. I don't know, but thank you.
Dean, man, we appreciate you making the time and getting on here, especially because you're sick. You're not feeling well. And
Not feeling well. Not today, no.
You took one for the team and you just decided I'm going to suit up and put on the pads and get inside of here anyway. Man, many thanks.
Game day doesn't stop. If it's on Sunday, it's on Sunday. You just show up, you know?
That's right. Every day is game day.
He's sick of crushing it. That's what he's sick of. He's sick of crushing it every single day for Heart and Soil. That's what he's sick of.
Well, this week we've been crushing it, but we've had some headwinds, but we crushed it this week. So
nice.
Happy to be here.
Man, we have wanted you to get you on here. And actually, we just saw one another not too long ago at one of the most exclusive events inside of e-commerce. We may or may not have a little video coming out on that very soon. I cannot say or not, but we were there. And man, I was blown away by what you were talking about. Specifically, my big takeaway was two things. Number one, Dean Brennan, not just a pretty face. This is not just a handsome man. Okay, there's a big brain inside of that skull. Number two, the big takeaway for me was that the best leaders and CEOs and directors inside of our space, they are knee deep, hands-on inside the terminal, working with the cutting edge tools that are available to us and building internal things that can help their teams. And if you would, I'd love you to just pull the curtain back a little bit and tell us about, and your background in engineering, actually, which I didn't know. You are a bit of an engineer, really. And what you have done for Heart and Soil that has really helped the team internally.
Oh, man, such a good question. And there's so much there. I'll try to keep it concise. I heard you guys talking about the back nine earlier. I don't know if everyone is going to be on the back nine once AI kind of like.
I don't think so.
I was thinking about that because, like, even though it's solving problems and making things easier, we're kind of wired to want to create new value, right? People are, and then also you want new value coming to yourself. So you're probably not gonna, once everything is kind of like equal. We're going to work as much as we already are.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, I've always been a technology tinkerer, if you will, and it kind of led to the other career before ecom was content production. I was a filmmaker, producer, and I led a studio. And the interesting thing is when you run a studio, and y'all still there?
We're with you, brother. We're with you. We're just spotlighting you.
Man, just full screen. Here we go. So in my role there, I essentially ran post-production supervision. And so I would develop post-production servers and create metadata servers and migrate data and create automated workflows for editors and graphic designers that were working. We might have 400 creative projects going out the door, and everybody's kind of touching those things. And so you find efficient ways to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, is in the loop, and that the client gets what they need when they need it. So that, along with, engineering and designing live streaming solutions way back then in like 2009, 2010, 12 it's a lot more complicated than it is these days. So I just have this background that it's been really useful with the age of AI, because I know, I guess, enough to be dangerous, right? And so also, I think just naturally, anybody who's engaged in the role wants to figure out how to do things better, maybe faster. You want to make more money, all of those things. So AI has kind of allowed me to I've got really two like core things that I've created that I
Yeah.
think are worth mentioning. One is over the course of 4 days, 2 weeks ago, I successfully created, coded, and deployed online a cash flow forecasting tool for the
Come
business.
on,
And
come
yeah,
on.
Oh,
yeah.
let's
So that's
go.
cool. The entire finance team is in there. And it's not just a
Jesus.
forecasting tool. It's more like you can create scenarios, right? Like we have a ton of AP that's coming in. We're making decisions on buying materials and production. And so you can essentially offset and change our accounts payable schedules, and you can see down to the dollar how that's affecting next week's cash flow, or 14 days from now, or I can look 60 days. A lot of our stuff might be like net 60, and so I have a pretty accurate view, looking into the future, knowing, hey, can I keep the lights on? So that was just an incredible thing that I was able to do that in 4 days. And it's not me, much of it is the technology.
Dean, we got to double click on that. Give
Yeah.
me, me like perspective. I'm just imagining myself on the team, okay, and probably I consider myself an expert on the team for this thing, finance, whatever, and then you come through there and hey, I have vibe coded this thing. I spent 4 days on it. I mean, how did the team react? Was there some like, whoa, Dean, are you sure about this? I mean, what was the team's reaction as they stepped into using that tool?
The first Slack message I received was, "You're an animal."
Yes.
But I will say though, it's not uncommon for me to disappear into some dark hole for 2 weeks and then come out with something that is like, oh wow, that solved the problem.
Wow.
I'm good at that. That's what I'm really good at. But again, I think the reaction was less about me doing it. I think everybody was just blown away at what is possible. I mean, if I rewind 6 months ago, and so we had this running in a spreadsheet essentially that I created a while back because we were feeling some pressure. So I was like, I have to get clarity here. And so I'm not a spreadsheet wizard either, but I leveraged AI at the time to figure out how to properly just create a model that worked really well. But it's slow. Not everybody can use it at the same time and know what's going on. There's a lot of constraints there. And so I did the same thing there where everyone was like, whoa, that's crazy, but this solves the problem. And I just took it to the next level.
Wow.
But yeah.
Dean, when you're going through this, could you dive into a little bit of the tactical and practical of this? So a couple things that come to mind is, how are you deploying this? Are you doing this on Lovable, Replit? Are you going through Claude Code? And then are you setting up a bunch of APIs? If so, how are you setting those up? Do you have to do a data warehouse? I'm sorry, I'm getting data nerdy with you, but
No,
I really want to hear the nuts and bolts of how you've put this beast together.
Yeah, good question. So I started with one underutilized technique that I think is really useful with AI is to just have a conversation with it, to talk to it. And so on the front end of any project, and this is funny, like, yes, I have a background in engineering, but every single thing is engineering, right? Like trying to get your audience to see the ads, that's engineering. You're engineering the message. You have constraints, you have a problem, you have tools, and you figure out how to do it. And so like, if you approach AI with that kind of thinking, the first thing is like, let's help AI understand the entire context of what I'm trying to accomplish. And many times we're not clear ourselves with what we want to accomplish. And so having an interview with AI to begin with is a really good first step. And the way I do that is I just turn on the voice mode. I did my interview with GPT because that works best in voice mode. And I just had it like interview me for 45 minutes about what I was trying to accomplish, what I wanted to do. And then, so I did that. And then I did a 45-minute Loom video where I walked through our current Cashflow tool, the features, how I utilize it, how the team utilizes it, what I wish it did. And then I took all that, context and started breaking it into a plan. And I used Claude Code for that. So, I didn't go right into development because I understand like things get lost with the context windows. Like there's a bit of a process here. So first I wanted to get really clear on what the build plan process was, what that looked like. And so I broke it into 10 different phases, and each phase was broken up from like either, I don't know, 5 to 15 kind of sub phases. And so I built that phased approach, built it into Claude Code, into the, the context. I had some config files that kind of like made sure that anytime the memory is compacted, that it relearns X, Y, and Z, and it understands where we left off. And so, yeah, on Friday, a couple of weeks ago, I started deploying the phases, and I started with phase 1 and deployed it, went amongst my normal work for the day. And every hour or so, I'd kind of check in and be like, okay, cool, finish that. Let me move on to the next thing and queue it up. And by the end of Friday, it completed all 10 phases by the end of the day. The thing is, it wasn't functional, right? And this is where troubleshooting, that skill of troubleshooting, understand like, where do I direct my energy to? That's important. And so I kind of found the primary areas where it wasn't functioning properly, and I found out how to kind of pinpoint those and fix them. So I did that. And then Saturday, I had, by probably, I don't know, midday or so Saturday, I had something fully functional that worked locally. I deployed it locally on my computer.
Yeah.
And then while it worked, it still wasn't ideal, right? There's these little like UX things and just little things here and there. So I spent the next Saturday night after my daughter went to bed and Sunday morning fixing some bugs. And, I put a couple features in there. I'm a really big fan of the quick keys.
There we
if you
go.
ever use Notion, Command K,
Yeah.
quick shortcut. So developed those into the product. And then Sunday night, I deployed it to GitHub as a private repository, and then to Railway, which allows you to host it. And then I integrated a clerk authentication with our Google Suite and created kind of the permissioning layer in the application, because I have 3 different user types in the application. It kind of chooses what someone is able to do and see in there. Tested all different roles Monday morning, and then I deployed it to the team with a Loom video Monday morning and had everybody onboarded in there.
Energy, baby. Energy.
4 days from nothing to a fully deployed web app. And they've been working in it for 2 weeks now. And I also created a bug loop, so bugs can be reported in there and they pop into our Asana board, and so I can batch them and then get AI on them. And so I've already fixed a couple of bugs in there, and it's rocking and rolling.
Carson, can you pull this up? Carson, I believe we have a screenshot of this, and I think maybe it's the next one. Let's look at the next one here. I mean, look at this. This thing is beautiful. Okay. One would expect, and you can bring us back, Carson, one would expect, as I'm hearing you talk, Dean, I would expect this thing is going to be like a butt ugly spreadsheet that nobody wants to look at and hurts my eyes. But as I look at this thing, what you built, I mean, brother, this looks like ready to debut. I bet the team was fired up to get inside of there.
Man, I'm telling you, it looks nice. And I'm a bit of an artist on the side too. I used to do graphic design, and I don't like ugly things. So I had to spend the extra time making sure that it looked nice. And even that the graphs in it, like when you're planning AP, you can move the slider to look at like a 7-day view or a 13-day view.
Wow.
And when you make these decisions on the AP or what you're going to pay into the future, it automatically shows you how that's affecting the cash flow into the future, like in that view. So yeah, I was thinking about the experience as well when designing it, and it worked out.
I love that.
Dean, are you going to whitelist this to other brands? I mean, this is my immediate thought. I want you to make money off this.
Yeah, I've been asked plenty of times over the last week about this. Just naturally comes up in conversation, and then I'm one of those people that when I get pumped up about something, I want to tell everybody. I told Nick Shackelford, I was talking with him, and I was like, you know what, I'll happily kind of package this up, take our proprietary information out of it, and I would happily give it away, because honestly, I don't want to be in the software business, right? I don't want to.
You got a business to run. You already got a business to run.
Oh,
I got a business to run, and honestly, it's if it can be useful, I'm happy to do that. And the other thing is, it took me 4 days, but in 6 months from now, it's going to take somebody 4 hours to do what I just did. And so there's no, there's not a whole lot of leverage there.
Man, tell me, I know you also spoke about a tool that you have built to evaluate you and your
Mhm.
performance inside of the business, man, your follow through, all the things. And just give us perspective on that, because I found this to
Mhm.
be incredibly valuable and enlightening on what's possible for helping leaders lead better and succeed in the workplace. Tell us about that.
Yeah. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are for like a CEO?
Oh gosh.
Decision making,
Decision making. Yep. There's one.
communication.
Communication. Yep.
That well, I'll just say, on the other side of being at the top, my biggest frustration is just not being able to reach said person and get a
Mhm.
get a firm this or that. I mean,
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest frustrations on the other side that I've experienced.
Yeah. No, that being clear, being clear is very difficult when um, you got as a CEO, you have a million things. Like you're switching context all day long. There's a million decisions. There are micro decisions. There's big decisions, and it is difficult to be clear, right? So if you lose track of like where your north star is and what you're really trying to accomplish, you can get caught in the noise very, very easily. I mean, you've got Slack DMs coming from multiple people on the team asking for things, so it's hard to be clear. So, yeah, this is a cool project, and a lot of this kind of even the cash flow thing kind of came from having a problem that I wanted to solve, but also just being excited to build something
Yeah.
and learn. Um, the one thing about being a CEO is you other than the P&L, you don't really have a boss.
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
you don't have. I mean, you do. Your customers are your boss. The P&L is your boss. You have shareholders, but like it, in the spirit of like, you don't have a mentor who's in your office every
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
who is watching how you operate, who's listening to how you're speaking in meetings, who understands the full context of what you're dealing with. And that's difficult to navigate when you're navigating that for the first time, right? Especially when there's like so much at stake. You've
Yeah.
got people's careers at stake. There's a lot there. And if you're wired in a certain way, like I just want to do the best that I can in my position. And so I was kind of thinking about the technology side. I'm like, wow, this could be really useful because I don't have anybody coming in giving me feedback every day.
Yeah.
And if you do get feedback, it's either sometimes folks are like, at least on the team level, they might not be willing to share the entire truth with you, because you're in a position of authority.
Right.
Um, or the other side, you'll get like a lot of things that make their way to you, but they're through side channels, and they're drama oriented. They're not like, it's hard to decipher and look through that stuff and figure out like, okay, what's actually real, what's not, what's a real pattern that I should act on. So um anyways, I have a tendency, I can talk for a really long time, but I'll
We
try to
like
get to the
it.
point. Okay. So anyways, all this into like taking all this into consideration, I was like, you know what, I wonder if I can create something. I can create like a chief of staff, essentially, like a someone who's going to hold me accountable to being the $100 million CEO, and not the
Love it.
CEO who's operating at 10 million or 20 million.
Yeah. That's right.
So I developed this thing through Claude Code. I call it ELIS, Enlightened Leadership Insight System,
There we go.
and largely inspired by, there's a book that every person in ecom should read, Double Your Profits, Bob Pfeiffer.
Mm,
Probably heard of that book. He wrote another book called, I think it's called CEO. It's called Enlightened Leadership, CEO Leadership. And it's hard to get, which is weird. I found a copy of this a couple of years ago, and I've tried to buy additional copies and I can't find it anywhere. It's not on Audible. Um, anyways, a lot of that book inspired this. And so I
mm.
created this system that largely looks at things through that enlightened leadership lens and some other philosophies that I believe in. And I've kind of defined, okay, what type of CEO do I need to be, or do I want to be? Um, and in this system, it's digesting essentially and synthesizing all of my context. It's synthesizing meetings across the org, even the meetings
Yeah.
that I'm in. It's synthesizing my manual notes, all the inputs. And it's looking for patterns, and it already knows what patterns exist because when I started this thing, I essentially fed it years of context. And
Wow.
I mined it. I mined it for patterns because I'm really curious, like, we get in this situation where we're stuck. We're trying to get a breakthrough, let's say on acquisition. Like if I look at all the context over the last couple of years, what types of patterns, if I look at those conversations, have continually come up? And it's funny because if like you're in meetings every day and you can kind of tell, but you don't have a very good memory. If you go back and you have this other thing that can synthesize all this information across all your meetings where you talked about acquisition, it can start to tell you like, oh wow, well, you're not very clear with your team what the actual target is. You flop between this and that.
Wow.
You take too long to set the targets. Sometimes it's like 2 days into the month and you don't have the target set. Like your team has expressed frustration at that. Like you get these signals back. And so essentially this system has a meta pattern from the long term at the organization. And then every single day it's ingesting, I'm synthesizing at the daily level, the monthly level, the quarterly level, the year level. And it also gives me a CEO scorecard. It knows my priorities. And it keeps me on track. I get a grade every single week. And I will say, the last thing I'll say on this is I had a C minus. That's how I made this thing strict. Like, I'm like, no bullshit. Like, hold my feet to the fire. Like, I need you to be 2 times harder than my shareholders actually are.
Wow.
Because I believe that's what's necessary for me
Yeah.
to rise to the occasion, for this next phase. But I started with C minuses and I'm getting Bs. I'm getting B pluses now in some areas, and it's really cool.
I mean, Dean, I'm going to say this again. Are you going to whitelist to somebody? Because please.
Yeah, yes, it'll take me some time to package it up, but I would happily do that. And, I don't plug myself very often, but Dean C. Brennan on Twitter, I'd happily pop open like a little group chat, Google Meet or something, and walk people through how I did it. Cause it's not that hard really. It just takes a little time to get set up.
You know what we should do? We should do a local event here in Austin, and we should get people together and take a look at that. Because here's what I'll say. When I had a mentorship with Taylor Holiday for about 6 months, it's probably one of the most crucial things that ever happened to me in my career. And, not only was he able to help me build systems and stuff, but, there were times where he'd say, no, don't say it like that. Use your big boy voice, speak up, and I think that's crucial for this, exactly what you're talking about. You've set up a system now where you have this kind of AI chief of staff that's able to evaluate even your language, your tone, the repetition that it's seeing for this or for that, and calling out mistakes like that. That seems to me like it's another way that I have yet to think about AI being a help inside of running a growing, thriving business that needs team leadership and needs, to bring everybody up and to the right to hit the goals that you want to. I really like that.
100%. And there's little things that save so much time. Some people listening to this that run teams or like run an organization will know, like, okay, when's the last time you had a town hall? And let's say you do quarterly town halls and you have to show up and you have to have an agenda, right? Like you have to say something. What are you going to say? What's that process of figuring out what the primary storyline is? How do you know all the little successes that happen in the given time frame? Well, usually it takes a lot of energy to think of those things and to go back. Let me go back to Slack. Let me go look here. Well, you don't need to do that. It's already captured. So I had a town hall after last year, and it was super easy for me because all the patterns and the context and the wins and the losses, everything was already there. So I just essentially, with one small prompt, I had, 80% of the way there in terms of like my outline and what I was going to say.
Wow.
So cool.
I mean, and also I think this addresses another point that people don't talk about. And it's really hard to talk about this, where being a CEO is an extremely lonely job. And nobody wants to say, and no, as the CEO, you want to try to go out and try to express how lonely it is or like how you want. And people are going to be like, yeah, cry me a river. Blah, blah, blah. We don't care.
Right. Yeah.
But you're stuck. You're stuck between this very hard place where you need feedback. You have no one to talk to but other founders and CEOs. And you're kind of by yourself on an island. I think that needs to be talked about a lot more. And I think this helps address that a lot. So, I mean, this is huge.
Wow.
Huge kudos to you for this.
It really does. And I think that's why my wife is a little afraid that I'm going to fall in love with ELIS.
ELIS. ELIS, man. Wow.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, Colin, though. That is very real. It is very real. Yeah.
Dean, man, I know that you're a busy man, and I appreciate you making the time to be with us. Before you go, of course, everybody needs to go and follow you, Dean C. Brennan, and we need to make this in person. We need to make this in-person activity happen where we can introduce and dig into ELIS more. But man, just give us perspective on 2026. You got a growing, thriving, energetic team, and I love the almost maniacal focus you have on keeping everybody's spirits high and focused. And what are you excited about for Heart and Soil going into 2026? What's getting you up and helping you enjoy when you get out of bed every day?
Yeah.
This is maybe a little too macro, but I'm stoked on the fact that more people are excited about like learning what goes into their food.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny because when we first started, it's like we had to essentially educate on that.
Yeah.
Like you should care about the process your protein goes through. Like you should care about what fillers and synthetic, ingredients are in your supplements. And now I feel like there's just this natural pull like towards transparency in those things, and I love it because we already have like our entire product development cycle, everything, how we interact with customers on the front line, it's all there. We share our COAs, our testing results.
Wow.
So we're pretty stoked about that. I'm stoked about that. And I'm really stoked about just the position we're in right now. Like, I think I mentioned some headwinds earlier. We, a lot of companies had acquisition headwinds over the last year, and we did, no different. And we have a ton of competitors entering the space and, a lot of different variables. And our team right now, I said we had a big win this week. We're operating on a different clip than we've never operated at before. And I love it because the hole is partly self-inflicted. When you grow organically very, very quickly, everything just works, and it's very difficult to kind of force that pressure of like the constraint on yourself to get better and dial in your systems. You do the best you can, but sometimes it doesn't evolve until there's actual pressure. And we had actual pressure, and I love our team responded really, really well. And this, actually yesterday we got back on track with our acquisition, and now we're just like we're cutting into the actual larger gap that we have. And yeah, man, I'm just stoked about that, about the energy of the team, and just the opportunity to make more people healthy.
Wow. Well, when America is getting healthy again, you don't want to be a competitor of Dean Brennan and Heart and Soil. I know that much. Man, we appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward to setting up this event and digging into ELIS a little more.
Let's do it. And congrats on the show. I love this. I love what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks,
Dean Brennan,
guys.
everyone. Wow.
Good seeing you.